I'm Madeline Blair, and this is Unlocked. If you're that person who sets goals that challenge you to fully reach your potential, this show is for you because it's a show all about opening possibilities so that when you're hit with the unexpected, you have options from which to choose. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this episode of Unlocked, and if you do, make a comment in social media about what you learned and might do differently as a result. And if you're on YouTube, click the like button. Better yet, subscribe. You can find more about the show and all of the replays at madelineblair.com/unlockedtv. And if you don't see a topic that you would actually like to hear more about, let me know. Just send me an email at madeline@madelineblair.com. If you would like to explore what it means to build and nurture your resilience with me, send me an email. Be sure to get on my mailing list as well, and I'll keep you informed about my new group mentoring program, Unlocking Together. Okay, our topic today is called Every Day Counts. That whatever or wherever you are in your life's journey, you have today to begin to build your life toward your personal vision. And as you know, we begin the show with a short conversation with Ed Hoffman. We call it Explorations. Let's join him as the exploration is already in progress. Individual. Mm-hmm. And yet I think there's a bit of a need for us to not just think of it that it has to be collaborative or we prefer it to be collaborative. But how do we make sure that we recognize ourselves in that vision?
Yeah, it's a powerful question. My initial thing that goes through my head is values. What is it? So your value is something you can do for yourself, you can do for your family, you can do for your community. And it's, I think maybe that in some ways is the starting point. It's difficult. I think one of the things we see in the world, it's very difficult because there are different values and values people hold tight to. But I think that to me is that notion of value drives where I want to go, the destination. If I don't know what I value, then I'm on a path without any sense of direction, perhaps.
I've often talked about the fact that values are not just important; they're essential to making good decisions. I do a talk on work-life balance, and I say there's no such thing. Don't talk to me about balance. Talk to me about integration, where you are able to always be the person you are, whether you're at work or whether you're at home. And I know for myself, it has freed me to make some very hard decisions that I knew when I came out the other end, it was okay because it was consistent with values. Yeah. But there's another piece to this, and that is when you're doing something, it is true that you want to make sure that in my case, whatever I do, there has to be high integrity. That's just who I am. And that's one of my values. But if I'm going to invest in something, I have to also feel that it's drawing on my strengths.
Yes.
So talk about that a little bit.
I think that's absolutely right. And actually, when you're going there, I anticipated maybe where you're going, but I was thinking, you want to have a sense of what matters to you, but you also want to be capable.
Yeah.
To go in a direction. Yeah. I'd love to be a great basketball player. Not going to happen, right? It's for a variety of things, and yet so that sense of, I think, also exploring. This is all around explorations, right? And I think explorations comes from a lot of the common ingredients that we've been discussing, but one of them also is the reality, that sense of what are the capabilities that I have, what are the capabilities that I want to invest time to get better at. We can want to be a guitarist like Jimi Hendrix or Paul McCartney, but the reality is, I mean, there's a lot of time that they spent practicing while I was out in the street playing baseball with my friends. So that capabilities things, I think it's one of the things that I suggest to to people is what are three of the things that makes you good at who you are? What are the things that your parents, what are the things your friends, teachers, colleagues said, Madeline, you're great at this. And I think that's the start. And you should be able to say at least three things that bring your talent out and build off of that.
I always enjoy listening to Ed and having a great conversation with him. But it's time to bring on my guest, because I'm so excited to have Diane with me today. Well, Diane, welcome to Unlocked before I get any further.
Hi, Madeline. It is a privilege to be here with you today.
Oh, fabulous. Likewise. I met Diane through her program called Star Academy. Her expertise in the industry is clear, and her personal story is inspiring. Diane Forster has over 30 years in the advertising and TV sales, and today she is host of her own show, I Have Today with Diane Forster. She's a motivational speaker, an author, an inventor, and a mindset coach. And along with her show, she helps others overcome the challenges of starting their own show, but more about that later. When she lost her portfolio, she began again and will share how she began to see this as a wake-up call and how she built from there to where she is today, a successful host of her own show and more. She's also written several books, including I Have Today, and I'm delighted again to welcome you, Diana.
Oh, Madeline, thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's really an honor to be your guest and also be your teacher and see how amazing this show is. And you had your show before you worked with me, but the changes to it it just thrills me to see how well you are doing and putting your beautiful work into the world.
Well, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I want people to get to know you more. Okay. Oprah Winfrey said, the golden life for all of us is to embrace every experience, good or bad, for what it has to offer, because that's why it's showing up. It has a purpose. I'd like for you to share your story with the audience so they can see the reason why they're here and you're here.
Well, thank you for that. Well, as you mentioned in the intro, my background was in advertising and television sales. I'd spent 32 years working in those industries. I was in LA for 8 years in the ad business, predominantly working in media. And then I switched to television sales when I moved from LA to Chicago. And I spent the last 20 years in that career working at ABC television. So I learned so much about marketing, messaging, media, client relations, sales. I've sold over $100 million of advertising in my career.
Wow.
And it was a good career until it wasn't anymore. And there was this desire in me to do more with my life. So I had this itch going on that was just kind of, bubbling up. And I was also married at the time and living in a very unhealthy, unhappy marriage and relationship that nobody knew about, Madeline. I kept it a secret because the packaging of my life looked so good. It looked like I had it all. The marriage, the kids, the dogs, the home, the cars, the travel, the money, all of it. What was wrong with me? Why wasn't I happy? And so that was also going on. And it led to me hitting a breaking point in June of 2011, where I attempted suicide. And it wasn't premeditated. It was not something I had ever thought about. I just snapped. And without going into the whole backstory, I will just tell you, I ended up in the bathroom in tears, the door locked, the family home, and held 2 full bottles of prescription pain pills I had sitting in a drawer from a surgery I had the year before to remove part of my colon because the stress of my life was just eating me alive. And my mother died of colon cancer at the age of 53, and I was headed straight down that path. And so as I had them in my hand, crying, tears running down my face, just looking up, saying, I just can't take this pain and loneliness anymore. This force karate chopped my arm, literally, and the pills fell to the floor. And in my ear, I heard, you are not ending your life this way, Diane. You need to go get help so you can tell your story and you can help others. And I threw my hands in the air and I said, well, you need to show me the way because I don't know how. But I took that very seriously, cleaned up that mess, dried my tears, kissed my kids goodnight. And the next day I reached out for help and said, I am changing my life. Wow. And so it led me down this path of awakening, spiritual awakening, personal development, and self-love, which was missing all along. I had put anything that I wanted, my goals, dreams, and desires, on the back burner and didn't set healthy boundaries in my life. And I said, no more. I am going to create an extraordinary life. And so that started my journey. And also I invented a kitchen product. Talk about left field coming in. I came up with this idea for a kitchen product in the kitchen one day, making deviled eggs. And I went to put paprika on them and too much spice came out of the
container. Too much spice come out.
And it ruined my dish in 1 second. And I immediately saw a flash of this product, this sifting spoon. It's called the Spifter. And I thought, God, wouldn't it be so great to have, a cool tool like this with a long handle, tiny sifting bowl, tapping edge where I could just place the spice where I wanted to. I'm very persnickety and my sisters call me Dianal. So of course I thought of something like this and I couldn't find it. And that same voice whispered in my ear, Diane, you need to create it. So I set down on that path to go through the invention process, not knowing what I was doing. This is the key point for everyone. Yeah. I just was taking the next step. I did have a mentor who was helping me and guiding me and trying desperately to talk me out of it. And my mantra to him was, I just want to see where this goes. And where it led to was 2 TV appearances. One at ABC, the producer called me one day and said, hey, we're doing a local inventor segment and we hear you're an inventor. And I said, I'm not an inventor. And I said, all I have is a prototype. And he said, well, we don't care. We take inventions. We want to see inventions at every stage. So I scrambled to get a website done and a place to collect information and get feedback. And I went on air for 1 minute. And Madeline, I got hundreds of orders for a product I didn't even have. So it was such great proof of concept.
Yes.
Well, that led to me winning an innovation award at the International Houseware Show. QVC was there. They came over to my booth and said, we want to start ordering your product and selling it on our website. So they did that and they ordered more and they ordered more. And they called me one day and said, it's selling so well, we'd like to feature you on air. Now, this does not happen. You have to call QVC. They don't call you. And so I went on air again with the host and we sold out in 6 minutes. So the couple of points I want to make about this is, number one, pursue those ideas because you have no idea. Having that mantra, let's just see where it goes, really changed my life. And number two, TV changed it twice. Yeah. So that was really important. So now remember, I'm getting out of this marriage and I'm in a career that I don't like. And so I said, well, if I could create something from nothing like the Spifter, what else could I do? And the universe and spirit and God were guiding me to create I Have Today, my transformational coaching, education, and media company I have now. And that happened because I woke up with a poem in my head called I Have Today. Just a simple, profound poem of the many things I was writing as I was, having my awakening. I looked at it and I said, oh, this is way more than a poem. This is a movement. This is what God was talking about in the bathroom that night. I'm supposed to help other women who don't know their self-worth discover their true divinity, their power, their purpose. Because if I was living like this, in what I define ho-hum hell, how many other millions of women are living like this? And so I made a bold decision in 2015. So 2 years after I wrote the poem, I quit my job at ABC. My twins' last day of high school was my last day in corporate America. I got them graduated, got them off to college, sold my house, sold everything in it. And I moved from Chicago to San Diego with that same mantra of, let's just see where it goes. Mm. And so in 2015, I started working on my book. My book came out in 2016. I launched the business. I started speaking. I started coaching. And then in 2017, I started my first TV show because I knew that life and mindset coaching was a very crowded space. And while I thought I was walking away from television, I realized, no. I have to bring in all those years of experience and create a platform where I can stand out as the expert in this industry. And so 5 years later, that's what I'm doing. And so, as you know, now I'm helping other people do it as well. So, yes.
I loved the fact that you didn't know what the next step was.
Yep.
Because when I started my business, which is now 30 some years ago, 36 years ago, what I heard was one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. So it's amazing how parallel your story is to my story.
It's so true. And we can only do one step at a time anyway, right?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Diane, one of the things that I recall is that you start by having a person really think about their star qualities within them. I loved that beginning. Tell us what this means and how does a person do this?
Well, this is so powerful. You know, we are bombarded by 70,000 impressions a day. There's a lot out there that makes us feel bad about ourselves, feel like we're unworthy. There's comparison-itis. There's, approval addiction. And, you need to buy this cream in order to look prettier. You need to take this pill in order to get well. There's so much going on. And so the reason why it's so important to go within and identify your unique ability is what I call it, and your 5-star qualities is because you are the only you. No one else is like you. There are gifts, skills, talent, knowledge, wisdom that you have that people want from you. They want to learn from you. They're happy to pay you for that. And so your very first step in anything is to identify what that is. What lights me up? What do I love to do that I could do all day? Time loses all meaning. I do it for free. What have I accomplished in my life where I can go at a girl or at a boy? Like those were, beautiful peak moments in my life that made me feel really good about myself. And when we do that process, as you know, it really opens up your eyes to, hey, I really am awesome. I really am talented. And then if you could take that list, that unique ability list, and then identify, well, what are the 5-star qualities that I have? You'll find your secret sauce in there, and you will find something or all things that now you can take into your product, your brand, your products, your services, your all of the things that you could be offering to the world that they're seeking. People are seeking it. And so it helps really crystallize it. And then you have a focus to help drown out the noise, because we are, as business owners and entrepreneurs, bombarded with shiny object syndrome, and be able to really stay clear and focused on the direction you want to go and how you want to serve.
I really enjoy very much this aspect of asking people to think about something that they have accomplished. I do a lot of work in story, and I use story as a vehicle for teaching. And
Yes.
I often will say to people, okay, now get in groups or turn to a person next to you. Tell them a story about a time where you are really proud of what you did. Well, it's amazing. I mean, I've done this with small groups. I've done it with 150 people in an auditorium. Doesn't matter. The point is, they suddenly get in touch with something very special. And the other thing was, someone is listening to the story and they say, wow. So they get an immediate affirmation, which of course is what you want as well. So uh, I always love that aspect of what is it that you've already done in your life that you can point to, because you really see a great deal. Yes.
Yeah. And don't we spend more time thinking about the things that are going wrong or didn't go well, or we perceive as mistakes or failures, or, those are the thoughts that are happening in the mind that we're drawing on those files. If we spent more time focusing on the, atta girls, atta boys, the accomplishments, the times when we felt really good, those thoughts would start, how you can spiral down in thoughts, you can spiral up too. So
Absolutely.
it's so important to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you've hinted at this. Well, maybe you've said more than that, but I want us to really, really dive into this. I loved your statistic that we get 70,000 impressions a day. Now, to those of us who have been in TV, we know impressions are really important when you look at your stats, right?
Yes.
Because that means the number of potential people who have looked at you.
Yes.
So when you said 70,000 impressions in a day, I'm thinking there's a lot of things that I expose myself to, is the bottom line.
Yes.
From your experience, and I know you've already said some of this, but push a little further. What are some things that you think really hold, in particular women, back from really reaching out and doing something that might be extraordinary or very ordinary, but something they want to do?
Overwhelm. Fear of failure. Low self-worth is a big one. And lack of self-love. We women in general, not all, but women in general are nurturing beings. And so they're so used to putting their energy out in giving. And so when you start to focus on you and you start to go within and say, I want this, this is something that I want. There's also that part of guilt that says, who do you think you are? Like, you don't deserve this. And so my role as a life and mindset coach, and everything I do, I infuse mindset coaching because it's the most important thing. Mindset is everything, is building people up, building women up, and having them understand and start to appreciate and own their worthiness, their greatness, their uniqueness. And I think what holds them back is they're afraid to put it out there. What if I'm judged? What if I can't do this? And I see it over and over, Madeline. I see it over and over in my coaching clients. And, somebody has said, a mother said something or a spouse said something, and it knocked her right down. And I say, you stop talking to them about your goals, dreams, and desires. Like, they're your mother, they're your husband. That's what you have me and the community for, because we're here to lift you up. And you need that trigger in that moment to just block it. Don't let it in, because it can knock you down. So my advice for anyone out there who's afraid to take a step forward, who's afraid to talk about an idea, who's afraid to ask and desire more, find the right people and talk to those people first. Share that with them, because I will draw it right out of them. Women come to me and then all of a sudden they're dreaming so much bigger, because it doesn't matter what they tell me. I'm like, that is awesome. How can I help you get it?
Yeah.
It's limitless.
I want us to do a little demonstration of this. So I'm going to start and then I'll pass the ball to you. Diane, from what I know, I just want to tell you that when you are in this kind of a conversation, you are so genuine There is this real sense of you care about me as you're talking to me. I just wanted you to know that.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate that. Well, I appreciate you, and I see all, you radiate so much love and compassion, and you're so giving too. And so I feel that heart-to-heart connection.
Mm.
So
Okay. So now, audience, you've seen it in action. It's really easy to do. All you have to do is keep your eyes open and seeing what's happening in front of you. And when you see something that really works and really gives you a sense of life, share that with the person. I have been known, believe it or not, Diane, to walk up to somebody on the street and say, "That's a gorgeous coat." And they'll just, they just sort of stop.
light up.
But they light
Yes.
up at the same time. Yes.
They light up.
Ah,
Yes. Yeah.
Ah,
And I would say one more thing
mhm.
to the women out there and the men too. This goes for all of you. Don't lead with your pain and what's wrong with your life. When someone says, how are you? No matter how your today is going, pull the first thing you're grateful for. Oh, it's going great. I woke up today. I'm alive. There's breath in my lungs. That might be the only thing you're grateful for that day. Or I have a roof over my head. There's food in my fridge. I got plenty of water today. Or, I got the best text this morning. Please focus on those things first instead of going into, I lost a client today, or I had a fight with my spouse. Even though that might be the pain that you're feeling, energetically lead with the gratitude first, because the universe will bring you more things to be grateful for. That's the energy you're putting out. And so law of attraction and law of reciprocity means more of the good will come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diane, as you were telling that, describing that, I remember a woman. It was my first professional job out of college.
Okay.
And she and I we faced each other. Our desks faced each other. And I remember one day, her name was Ewa Fields, fabulous woman. And I have to say that name because what she did for me changed my life. She said to me one day, "You really work hard, Madeline." And I began to tell her, well, and I dismissed it. And she turned to me and she said, "Madeline, sometimes all you have to say is thank you."
Yes.
So I would add that to your advice on gratitude. Just
Yes.
sometimes say thank you.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well said.
She was just an amazing person. She went on to get her PhD and ended up being a dean at a big university. She was extraordinary. And she came from the coal fields of Virginia. So
Interesting.
yes. Really, really amazing story. Okay. I have to ask this question because you have learned so much, but I know that you learn something every day. What are you learning now?
Oh my gosh, I learn so much every day. I learn every day how much I know, how much knowledge I have, and how many people need it, and how I'm serving every day. And Madeline, that drives me. It gets me up, jumping out of bed every day, saying, whose lives can I impact today? How can I help today? It feeds my soul. And we don't really know how much we know until we put ourselves out there. So that's another thing. Don't hold yourself back in your life, because your whole life experience, all of the experiences have value. Positive experiences, negative experience, however you perceive them, everything has value. And so the more you put it out there, like you do with this television show, like I do with my television show, our coaching programs and businesses, the more you realize how many people are learning from you and benefiting from you. I just held an event on Friday and it was a beautiful experience. And they all said, it was breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough all day. And now how amazing. And that was me just being me, putting myself there with my knowledge and following the direction of where it was going, being able to answer questions. And so that's when that's what I know right now. And that's what I'm learning every day is I actually do know a lot. We all do.
We all do.
Yeah.
You're so true. We've been talking a lot about having a TV show. What do you see are the benefits of having a TV show rather than a radio show or a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, TV is a lot of work. You and I know that.
Yes. So are podcasts and radio shows.
Yeah.
But the benefit of having a TV show, well, the benefits, let's list the benefits. Number one, it's video. So that in itself, we are in this time in the world where, a blessing of the lockdown was it became even more prevalent to be strong on video. You have 2 to 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention. As I mentioned, we are being bombarded by 70,000 impressions a day.
Mm-hmm.
So a television show is a great way to get really good on video. When you're really good on video, look at me, I'm guest hosting on your show. You get to bring amazing people onto your show and also get to go on other people's shows. It's your instant stage. And what I mean by that is it's an opportunity to have long form content out there and really nurture a relationship with your audience. It speaks to the, multiple learning styles because some people learn by seeing and some people learn by hearing, and you're doing both at the same time. The content lives on forever because content providers are looking for good television shows. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And the last two, which are super important, is you get to reach a whole lot more people and help more people. And your TV show, as you know, because you worked with me, is your anchor. And from that anchor, it can become your podcast. It can become a radio show. It can become your blog. It can become a book. It becomes your news pegs to get into the media. There's so many ways you can repurpose, starting with a TV show. Yeah.
I love that list. And all of them played certainly in my decision. I mean, because I spent 4 years on radio before I decided to make the shift. And I can tell you from my experience, it's a lot more work between radio and TV.
Yeah.
It's not a trivial decision to make, but it gives you, as you have listed, so many benefits that when you're out there. And speaking of which, you mentioned the aspect of using it as a base.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you have this wonderful show, your show, and you just did an event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're also building some other things from this base.
I am.
And as I recall, one of them is a free master class.
Yes.
What did you call it? Launch?
It's launch and star in your own TV show, where I teach how important it is, why TV now, some of the reasons that I just listed. I also share the top 3 mistakes most hosts are making, so definitely need to avoid those. And I share the 7 secrets every TV show must have. You must know this. So if you're interested in starting a platform like a TV show, I highly encourage. And even if you have a show, come to the masterclass and learn. Am I doing it right? Am I making the mistakes? And so this is after a 40-year career in advertising, media, and TV hosting, and me going through all the trials and tribulations and figuring out what worked and what didn't. I've broken it down for you so that you can avoid the pitfalls that I did.
And as I recall, to find out about this, and it's free, isn't it?
It's free. It's a free master
They
class.
they go to tvhostmaker.com. That's one word, tvhostmaker.com. I'm going to spell it out for you. tvhostmaker.com.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, Diane, you challenged me when I was working with you that the TV show was a foundation. So I too am about to release my program called Unlocking Together. And it's starting with, yes, this is right. It's starting with a free series of videos. And the best thing to do is come to my website and sign up, get on my mailing list, and you'll get all the information, because it's not ready for me to give you that nice succinct URL right now, but it's going to be coming in about 2 weeks. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, because, you know, I've talked about how people can really nurture their own resilience, and it's not about making them necessarily a better person. It's making them a better decision maker, because resilience resides in that moment when you say, I have to do something about this.
Yes.
You're making a decision. That's
Yes.
why I loved your story, where there was an intervention who came in and said, you're not making this decision, you're going to make this other decision.
Yes. And I'm so grateful for that moment. I bless it every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me.
I am excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, in the audience, we have those who are just starting out in their careers, and there are those who may feel that they're in a transition point like you. What advice would you give them now?
Well, first of all, come to my masterclass so you can learn about how I reinvented, you know, because I started all over. I completely walked away from everything in my life to create this. And of course, there was fear, and of course, insecurity and self-doubt, and how to really flush through that decision-making process and know that you're worthy. So that's what I would say. Definitely come to my class, because I'd love to get to know you, but also do some self-reflection and digging into some of the questions that I said earlier about, you know, discovering your unique ability and finding your qualities, your 5-star qualities, and thinking about your life. If time and money were not a factor, because technically they're not, you think they are, that's an illusion. But let's get you into the feeling space as if they're not. You know, you can do anything you want. You have all the money in the world and all the time in the world. What would you be doing right now? How would you be living your life? How would you be serving? How would you be spending your todays? And that's the first place I would start. And then start looking at your life now with a new lens and a new awareness that you're seeking something more, and look at the things in your life currently that you are not happy with, and ask yourself why. And as my friend Michael Ozier says, well, then what do I want? What would I prefer instead? And you'll start getting some of the crystallization of the details of what living that new life would look like. Because if your life isn't coming from you, if you are not creating it, it's happening to you. As I said, all the impressions coming at you, all the sales, all the marketing, all the opportunity, people will suck you dry. They will suck your energy dry. So you must be the deliberate creator of your life, and know there's nothing you can't be, do, or have. You are absolutely unlimited, an infinite being, and there's no better time than today to start doing this. Because when then, as I write about on day 2 in my challenge, when then syndrome will keep you putting it off to tomorrow, a week, a month, a quarter, a year, a decade. And so many times when people come to me, I say, how long have you been struggling with this? Like, how long have you been unhappy? And when they admit it, they feel terrible. And I don't want you to feel terrible. Like, let's change it today.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I remember a former coach who would always say, when it takes a tree, 30, 40 years to grow to its full
Yes.
Right. And so he said, so when is the best time to plant a tree that you want to have the shade from? And of course, everybody says, well, 40 years ago. No, right now.
Right now.
Just do it.
You know, so, my oldest client, age-wise, certainly not in her attitude. She's over 80. She is spunky, and I work with women mostly 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. There is always today to reinvent your life, to start over, to begin new. There's no expiration. And somewhere in our cockamamie brains, someone ingrained in us that the structure of your life is, well, you go to school for 12 years and then you go to college and then perhaps you go to grad school and then the learning stops. It doesn't. We're creators and we came here to create. You can reinvent your life anytime. You can reinvent your life as many times as you want. You are the one who's in control. So, yeah.
Wow. Giving me so much responsibility. But you see, once you have thought about what your strengths are, you know there is strength there to do it.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, Diane, I just have so enjoyed this conversation. And I'm just thinking, some of the notes I made, 70,000 impressions a day. That blew my mind. And that as a person, I should remind myself what lights me up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do that even today. I love what I'm doing, but what of that really lights me up? So it's good.
Right.
And be the creator of your life. So, the other thing that I just loved was 2 to 3 seconds to get attention.
Yes. Yes.
I do little spots for the shows that are coming up. In fact, I just recorded the spot for this show.
Oh, great.
And I said, okay, how do I catch them immediately? And so I asked a question.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was, but it was a really good question.
That's good. It's called the hook.
Oh,
You got to hook them in right away.
right away.
Like grab their attention.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
So again, thank you, Diane Forster.
Well, Madeline, thank you for having me. I love your show. I have totally loved working with you and being in company and community with you. And your work is powerful. And together we're stronger and better and making greater impact in the world. And that feels really good. It lights me up, gets me jumping out of my bed every day saying, I have today to love my life. And you're so true. I love that you name this show Every Day Counts. Every day does count.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Wow. I have really looked forward to today, and I've not been disappointed, shall we say. Well, I want to bring Ed back for just a bit more, because he and I had a long conversation about vision and what a perfect thing to have, given what Diane was just talking about. So let's get back into where he and I were talking. A friend of mine who I actually interviewed for another book told me how he learned what's going on in management. And he said, because he was brilliant. I mean, he knew all the latest ideas, and he was even ahead of it. And he said, I read good fiction.
Yeah.
Because in good fiction, you learn human interaction. So it was a real amazing insight that I got from him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you can imagine it, you can create it, right?
Yeah.
And so you start with the imagination. And, I mean, being a NASA guy, you think of the importance of Jules Verne.
Yeah.
You know, what he wrote about, people start thinking, oh, we can do that. There's a way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so very powerful. But the ideas, the thoughts, the stories, and then having those conversations, and eventually the conversation may lead to, this is something we should do. This is going to be our goal.
Yeah.
And we choose to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Comes from all of these things, but it starts with the relationships, I think, really does.
And you're right. It's when that story becomes so enticing that you really feel like you've got to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's the power also of the stories. It's not just that it explains things, but we share our story. You tell a story and then I react to it. And then maybe I have a connection and then we get deeper understanding. And eventually you get to the point of, well, why don't we do something about this?
Yes,
And
exactly.
that leads to that kind of sense of objective or goal.
Always love Ed and his great wisdom. And what a way to end our session today. So I want to thank you for joining me on this segment of Unlocked. I'm Madeline Blair, wishing you infinite possibilities as you unlock your resilience.